What's up guys, and welcome back to Software Knowledge Solutions, and today we're talking about PlayerUnknown Battleground, commonly known as PUBG. Now today I'm going to be showing you the best settings you can use right now in 2025 to have a competitive advantage over your enemies and overall visual difference. Also have a smooth gameplay experience. Alright, I'm not going to make this video very long, let's jump straight into this. Would you like to go from this FPS, basically having your FPS either capped to the hertz of the refresh rate of your monitor, or having uncapped FPS and have your game running like this? Just overall have better performance in your game, and these are tweaks and settings that you're going to need to do inside this game and then also inside Windows to get a better stable performance out of your game. The more frames you're pushing out in this game and the more stable it is, the more competitive it feels and the better the gameplay will be for you personally. Trust me on this. All you're going to need to do is follow my guidelines from the beginning to the end of this video and you should be good to go. Alright, let's jump straight into this video. Alright ladies and gentlemen, so the first thing I highly recommend you go ahead and do is click on this little gear icon over here and come to settings, and then come to your graphics settings like this, your basic settings over here. Now you get your language settings over here, then obviously this is whatever the hell you want to choose this on. Just go ahead and select it, and then you have your NVIDIA highlight auto capture. Please go ahead and disable this. You have your display settings over here, and this is all your display settings. I highly recommend running your game at full screen all the time. It's the best setting you can run your game at, is at full screen. It will give you less input latency. It will make your game feel really smooth overall. Do not run this game in borderless mode, and do not run it in windowed mode. A lot of people think that running it in windowed mode or running it in borderless mode will give you more FPS and a competitive advantage. No, it won't. It will actually increase the stutter that's happening in the game, and there will actually be stutters happening in the game a lot more than what it will happen on full screen. Please play this game at full screen mode. There's actually another one, which is this one over here, but I'll get to that just now. All right, resolution, always play your game at the resolution of your monitor. Now, let's just say we are now in 2025. You maybe have a 4K screen or whatever the case might be. Obviously, do not play this game at 4K. You are just drastically going to decrease your FPS and your game's going to run like dog shit. This is a very competitive game. It's an extremely competitive game, especially if you're playing ranked mode or whatever game mode you are playing. It's a very competitive game. So I have my game right now, this very moment, at 1080p. This is how I play my game for competitive mode, and I highly recommend just having it at 1080p or even 1440p or 2K as the highest you should go to. Do not push this to 4K. You are going to struggle with FPS. If you're struggling with FPS in the first place, rather push this to 1080p and leave it at 1080p. All right, your lobby FPS cap on unlimited, your in-game FPS cap on unlimited. Have this unlimited so you can have unlimited frames all the time. As you can see here, this is what I'm doing here with MSI Afterburner. Now, a lot of people don't use MSI Afterburner, or they might use AMD cards, so they use Adrenaline and stuff like that, but you don't really need that. You can actually use a thing in Steam itself to show you the FPS, and let me show you how you do that. Alright, so you're going to come to Steam, you're going to come to Steam over here at the top left, and you're going to come to settings, and you're going to go to in-game. Once you're in-game like this, it's going to say in-game FPS counter. Please go ahead and select it. You can say top left, top right. It's your own personal preference. I normally do top left over here, and then say in-game FPS counter high contrast color, and go ahead and enable it. Now, I have MSI Afterburner, so I don't use it, but you can use this if you don't use MSI Afterburner or anything like Adrenaline to run on your screen. So just overall, just turn this on, and you'll see on the top left corner here in your games that you will see your FPS as you're currently doing by having this on the top left and have this high contrast color on. Please go ahead and do that. Alright, so smooth frame rate is something I highly recommend you just go ahead and disable. Please go ahead and do this. Disable this completely, because it actually increases the stutter in the game and makes the game feel way worse. Where it says smooth frame rate, it does not make your game feel smoother. It really does not. It actually makes the game feel way worse. Please go ahead and disable this. Brightness, please go ahead and turn this up from its original defaults to about 70, 75, 80 to 85. This is a sweet spot right now for this game at this very moment for competitive settings. Please go ahead and change this. Universal brightness for all maps, please go ahead and enable this and keep this enabled. All right, let's jump straight into the advanced settings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are in the advanced settings right now, and this is the advanced settings for the game itself. Now, as you can see, everything is on high and ultra in my game. I am running a 4070 Super, a 14700K, and 6000 megahertz RAM of DDR5. Now, if you want a smooth gameplay experience, depending on the machine that you're running, so let's say you're running a low-end machine to a medium-end machine, I'm going to show you the best settings you can use for competitive settings, right? These are competitive settings that I'm about to give you, okay? So I can run my game perfectly fine like this, but these are competitive settings that I'm about to show you. So the render scale, if your machine can handle it, put it at 120 because you can actually see your enemies much easier, and things overall like objects don't have these little square glitter blocks on it, and it just doesn't look all jagged and weird. Okay, if your machine can handle 120, do 120, but if your machine can't, just go ahead and type 100 inside here, just like this, and press enter and have it like this. Then you overall your game will run much smoother if you're running a lower end machine. Please go ahead and do that. Okay, my machine can run at 120 perfectly fine, and I leave it like this. This is your first person camera FOV, and I have mine at 103, and the reason why I have it at 103 is how you play your game. That's how it feels and stuff like that. And basically this is like third person view, but basically this is how it runs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so overall graphics quality, obviously going to have this like custom, and then you're going to customize these settings yourself. Okay, now what I highly recommend you go ahead and do is, depending on the machine that you are currently running at this very moment, I highly recommend changing this over here to about medium. You should be fine on medium right here. All right, this one over here, also don't push it too high. You don't need this to be all the way to ultra or anything like that. But you can run this actually at ultra, but you can go with high rather, just to have a smoother gameplay experience and more FPS overall in this game. Shadows is something you do not need in this game. You really seriously don't need it, especially if you want a competitive advantage. You're going to go to all the way to very low, and this is how you should play your game. The texture should always be at ultra. Leave this at ultra always. If you can't get away with ultra and you're seeing still dips in FPS, then go to high and leave it there. Do not decrease this, then it starts making the game look like absolute dog shit, and you don't want your game to look like dog shit. So ultra, if your machine can handle it, leave it at ultra. If your machine can't handle ultra, just go to high. You should be good to go. Effects is something you don't need to see in this game. You really don't. Okay, so just go all the way to very low, because I'm just going to make an example to you, right? So there's a lot of times where maybe you knock one person, you're a squad of 4 or whatever the case might be, and someone pops a smoke. Okay, if you have this at ultra like this, the smoke takes longer to dissipate, right? Now, when you have this all the way at very low, the smoke dissipates much quicker, and you can see little gaps through the smoke, and you would be able to see the person trying to revive the guy that was knocked. Okay, so having this at very low gives you a competitive advantage. Not just that, it increases FPS overall. So have this at very low. Please go ahead and do that. Foliage, I wouldn't have this at ultra. You don't really need this at ultra, but I run my game at ultra with my 4070 Super. But you can go to high if your machine can handle it perfectly fine, or I would recommend medium over here. Okay, you should be good to go right now at this very moment. Have it at medium or at high if your machine can handle it. If you have a hefty machine, go to ultra. But yet again, it's an FPS boost guide and it's competitive settings, so go to medium over here and you should be good to go. All right, so view distance is a very big role on the game, and it plays a very big role on the game of how far you can see. All right, that's called view distance in this game. Now, you do not need to have this at ultra unless you can get away with ultra with your machine that you're currently running. Okay, so what I do recommend is you'll actually see on the right hand side, I'm just going to show you quickly. As you can see, everything's rendered in here. Trees and everything else rendered in further away, okay? So now, if I go here and I start dropping this down to, let's say, high, now parts of the buildings are gone. If I drop it to medium, now trees are gone. If I drop it to low, now the rest of the trees are gone. If I drop it to very low, now the rest of that trees are gone. Now, if you want your view distance to be like this, to have more of a competitive advantage, you can have it like this, and you'll do more FPS in the game. But what I would recommend is having this at medium like this as well, or at high. Run it like this so you can actually see Like, you don't want to peek through a scope and look at someone from a distance and you can't really see them and the building looks all blurry and all weird. You don't want that. Don't push this down all the way to very low then. Please don't. Have this either at medium or high and you should be good to go. Don't push it to ultra. You don't need it to be at ultra. I can with my machine. If your machine can handle it, go with ultra. But what I would recommend is medium right here and you should be good to go. Sharpness, I highly recommend putting the sharpen on in this game. Right. If I disable this and I have this disabled, you can actually see the difference in this picture over here. So over here, you'll see the picture has more sharpness to it. And your enemies becomes much sharper to see, much easier to see. So have this disabled as well. All right, we're going to scroll down. We're going to come to VSync. Disable your VSync right now at this very moment so you don't cap your FPS to the refresh rate of your monitor or the hertz of your monitor. Have it disabled. Okay, the only main reason why you would enable this if you are getting screen tearing. That's the only main reason why you would have this on. If you're getting screen tearing, it's literally showing you a physical image of showing you what happens to your game if your game is doing this. Screen tearing. That's called screen tearing. If you're driving around, walking around, and stuff's like cutting off, trees are cutting off, walls are cutting off, it looks like the game's fucking out, basically. Just go ahead and enable it then if you are getting screen tearing. But most case scenarios, people aren't getting screen tearing, so just turn this the fuck off and leave it the fuck off and done, and do the FPS that you want to be doing. All right. Motion blur is something that I highly recommend you disable in this game. Like I said, it's a very competitive game, so when you enable motion blur, as you can see, everything blurs around you once you start running and moving your mouse. Now, let's just say, for instance, make an example, like there's a guy standing by that tree over there, but he's like lean peeking, and he has a Car 98 or something in his hand, and you can't see him because you have motion blur on, and he's aiming at your head, and you're about to come around this corner. A level 2 helmet and a Car 98 is not going to make sense. You are going to get knocked or killed immediately, depending if you're playing in a squad or you're playing solos, right? So please go ahead and disable this so you can actually see the guy standing there and have an advantage, and then maybe peek him in third person view or first person, whatever you are playing at. Disable this. It is a very big thing in this game. Disable this and have it disabled. Have this at DirectX 11. Do not run this game at DirectX 11 Enhanced, and do not run this game in DirectX 12 if you are here for an FPS boost guide. Run this at DirectX 11. This is how you should be running your game, and you should be running your game perfectly fine like this. Please go ahead and change your settings to this right now at this very moment, and then your gameplay will just be overall much smoother. All right, just go ahead and apply these settings and you should be good to go. All right, gameplay, I highly recommend disabling this because this can actually eat your FPS. If you have this enabled, you will then every time when you press tab to see what you have in your inventory, let's say like your guns and if you have grenades and heals and all that kind of nonsense and shit, you'll see your character. Now, I have mine disabled even with my 14700K and my 4070 Super. I still have this disabled because it just eats FPS. So go ahead and disable this. This one over here, I highly recommend do not play this at its default normal setting, the colorblind mode. Please go ahead and change this because this is absolutely fucking gay how this looks. Just go to any one that you prefer over here. So you can go with this, you can go with this, you can go with this. I have mine like this, and this is my favorite one. It's always been my favorite one. You can customize your crosshair, and I have mine as this like basically magenta pink color. That's what I'm running right now. So it's 255, 0, 255, 255. And then obviously when you change this, it will change the color, right? So you can see here, it will start changing the color. So I have mine like this, and this is how I run my game. At magenta pink, it's a popping color, and it's very easy to see your crosshair. This is how I have mine, and I highly recommend it's your own personal preference of what you do, but I highly recommend changing this. It's very important, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump straight into the color customization that you can change inside, obviously, your windows to make your game pop more and have a competitive advantage and see your enemies much easier. All right, let's jump straight into that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we are on our desktop right now, and I highly recommend you be on your desktop. And then all you're going to need to do is just right click on your desktop and then go to an NVIDIA control panel. And once the NVIDIA control panel is opened and it looks like this, you're just going to go to adjust image settings with preview, and you're going to come inside here. Please go ahead and select the use the advanced 2D image settings and click on take me there, which is basically just going to take you to manage 2D settings. And all you're going to need to do is copy my settings that I have inside here. All right, just go ahead and pause my video, copy everything inside here, and you should be good to go. These play a very big role on how your game performs. Trust me, it really does. It really does. depending on how your game performs, and all your games in general. Okay, so these are very, very important. This one over here, so your low latency mode, a lot of people do have this over here, so on or ultra or in certain ways. Right now, this very moment for PUBG, I recommend you leave this off. Your max frame rate off, don't change it inside here. You can change it obviously in the game, don't change it inside here. This you have off. Prefer performance over here, and then go ahead and select the OpenGL rendering GPU. Select your dedicated graphics card. Do not say auto select. Select your dedicated graphics card. Scroll down and then select this one over here, power management mode. Select the maximum performance inside here and you should be good to go, not normal. Then shader cache should not be on 100 gigs. I made a video before on this on PUBG couple of months ago, a couple of months ago. You do not need to have this at 100 gigs anymore for stuttering. The stuttering is actually now gone away, even though this is at driver default. So just leave it over there and you should be good to go. Off, allow, and then quality. Now this plays a very big role on depending on the machine that you're running. So let me just state this out there. If you are running a very low-end budget gaming graphics card, right? 4 gigs or something like that, go to high performance, okay? Even up to 6 gigs, I would recommend high performance. I used to own a 2060 OC, so an RTX 2060 OC, and I had this at high performance and made my game run way better. Okay, so now I have mine at quality. The reason why I have mine at quality right now is because I own a 4070 Super. It is a really hefty graphics card. It's not the worst, it's not the best, but it's quite up there. So I use quality. So the higher your card is, then yeah, you go to quality. So the lower your card, you go to high performance. If your card's mid-range, you go to performance. Do not select high quality. I repeat, do not select high quality. I don't care if you have a graphics card that literally can create movies. Do not select high quality. Your games are going to run like shit and PUBG is going to run like shit. So if you have a really good graphics card, quality, low-end graphics card, high performance, medium-end graphics card, performance, you should be good to go. Then the rest of these things over here, this one over here on threaded optimization, you can put on depending on if you have a hyper-threaded CPU. Now I leave mine at auto, so I just leave it there and it will do its own thing. I recommend you do the same thing, leave it at auto. Have this at off, and the rest of the things are just virtual reality things, and then just go ahead and apply these settings if you haven't done this already. All right, go ahead and apply it. Then from here, you're going to come to config, surround, and physics, and select your physics. Now, your physics is being handled through your GPU. So obviously, go ahead and select your GPU, not auto-select, not CPU, your GPU. The current graphics card that's plugged into your PCIe slot, select it, and then say apply if you haven't done this already. Then from here, you're going to come to adjust desktop color settings, and this is the biggest role that it plays inside this game, is how good the game looks. Okay, now as you can see, I have 3 monitors over here, and this is my main screen where I play my PUBG on. Right now, at this very moment, my brightness overall, in general, for my screen is 50%. That's its defaults, all right? I have my contrast at 65, not 50, which would be its defaults. Have it at 65, it's a sweet spot. And then you come down over here to your digital vibrance. All right, digital vibrance plays a very big role over here. I'm just going to click on image 3, then do the same thing as me that I'm about to do. If you pull this all the way to 0, your screen will look black and white. It will go fully black and white. And then if you put this onto 50, like this, I'm just going to put this onto 50. That is your Windows default colors. Now, as you can look at your screen, right? When you look at your screen like this at 50%, which is Windows's default settings, you'll see that your screen looks washed out. Now, a lot of people don't like that, and a lot of people like more digital vibrance in their game, on their screen, and how their games look in general. This won't just help for PUBG, it will help for all games that you are playing. But especially for PUBG, it pops colors, you see enemies easier, you see smoke easier, you see everything easier. I highly recommend bumping this up. All right, so you can hit about 75, 70, hit your own sweet spot, 85, whatever the case might be. My sweet spot is 95. This is my sweet spot for all my games, and PUBG runs perfectly fine just like this. Then you're just going to apply these settings and you should be good to go, ladies and gentlemen, and then you can just fuck out of this. Ladies and gentlemen, if this worked for you, smash the like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the new channel if you're new here, and as always, hope this helped you, and peace out.